The invisible war. The ocean was supposed to be safety. For years, German U-boats had haunted the Atlantic, ghosts beneath the waves, striking without warning, vanishing without trace. Entire convoys disappeared, leaving only shattered wood and splintered steel, with sailors calling the waters the graveyard of the Atlantic. But on a fog-choked night in 1942, somewhere off Newfoundland, a faint pulse appeared on a green radar screen, blinking and vanishing like a heartbeat. Lieutenant Eleanor Graves leaned forward, heart hammering. "Sir, it's moving," said the young operator beside her, voice barely above a whisper. Machines hummed and crackled around them, the lab alive with tension, every dial and wire trembling with the weight of possibility. Eleanor's fingers hovered over the console as though she could reach into the ocean itself and bend the enemy to her will. Captain Harold Simmons stepped closer, his shadow falling over the console, a faint warmth radiating off him. "Looks like all those late nights paid off," he said, low, almost teasing. "You can actually see them." Eleanor shot him a glance, a smirk tugging at her lips. "Careful, Captain. Compliments like that might require payment." Her eyes lingered just a heartbeat too long, and Simmons noticed. "I might be willing to pay," he murmured, his voice dropping in pitch. The unspoken charge between them was electric, a tension as sharp as the pulse flickering across the radar. Eleanor felt it, a shiver down her spine, and resisted a small step closer, reminding herself the ocean and thousands of lives depended on her focus. The blip moved again. Slowly, methodically. Eleanor traced it, watching it cut a path across the dark Atlantic on the screen. "There?" she whispered. "That's a U-boat. One of theirs." Thousands of feet below, Captain Lieutenant Otto Brandt adjusted the periscope on his Type 7 submarine. He scanned the horizon, confident in his invisibility, confident in the ocean's darkness. He did not know that somewhere far above, Eleanor and her team were watching every movement of his steel hull. The pulse of radar light traced him like a heartbeat, mapping his every maneuver with unnerving precision. Simmons leaned close, shoulder brushing hers. The proximity sent a spark of adrenaline through Eleanor. "I like it when you whisper like that," he said, voice low, intimate. Her pulse raced, half from adrenaline, half from him. "Concentrate, Captain," she said, half laughing, half warning. "Lives are at stake." He only grinned, stepping back slightly, though the warmth lingered. "Yes, ma'am. But it's tempting to forget the lives when you're this close." Eleanor returned her attention to the radar, but her mind could not help but linger. The tension in the room was a mixture of machines, war, and human desire, a complicated equation she did not have time to solve, yet could not ignore. Hours passed. The first real convoy sailed cautiously into the Atlantic. Merchant ships bobbed in the darkness, unknowing of the eyes above them. Eleanor tracked every blip, every pulse, issuing orders to operators across the lab. Every movement was critical. One misread signal could doom a ship, one delay could let Brandt slip away. And then the blip moved exactly where a U-boat surfaced to attack a merchant vessel. "Depth charges ready," Eleanor ordered, voice firm despite the tight knot of tension in her stomach. Explosions rocked the waves far below, the sonar confirming a kill. Brandt's crew scrambled, stunned and terrified, realizing for the first time they were being tracked. Simmons exhaled, brushing a hand across his face. "We did it," he murmured. His eyes flicked to Eleanor's, full of something unspoken, pride, admiration, and the lingering tension of proximity. Eleanor smiled faintly. "We did," she said, voice soft, a touch of warmth creeping in. "And I might have to charge you for watching me work this closely next time." He chuckled. "I'll pay any price," he said, though the seriousness in his eyes undercut the flirtation. Their hands almost brushed as he adjusted a dial. The moment was fleeting, charged with unspoken possibility, suspended in the hum of machines and the threat of unseen enemies below. The Atlantic roared outside, waves crashing against unseen shoals, the night unbroken by light. But above, in the dim green glow of the lab, humanity had found a weapon the Germans could not imagine: eyes beneath the waves. Every pulse of the radar was a heartbeat in a new kind of war, a war fought with light, calculation, and human courage. As the night stretched on, Eleanor and Simmons worked side by side, trading brief words, glances, small touches that lingered longer than necessary. The tension between them mirrored the tension of the radar pulses, precise, urgent, and impossible to ignore. Somewhere, deep below, Brant adjusted his tactics, unaware that every maneuver had already been predicted, already countered. Eleanor's thoughts drifted to the men on the convoy, young sailors facing the wrath of the Atlantic and the hidden claws of the U-boat fleet. Every pulse of her radar could save lives, but each blip also reminded her of mortality, of the delicate thread between life and death. Hours turned to dawn. The first light crept across the ocean, pale and trembling, reflecting off restless waves. The blip on the radar disappeared, sunk by precision and calculation, leaving Eleanor and Simmons standing in silence. For a brief moment, nothing existed but the hum of the machines and the shared breath between them. Simmons finally spoke, voice low. "This changes everything. Every convoy, every U-boat, every sailor out there." Eleanor's gaze returned to the console. "Yes, but we have to stay sharp. They don't know yet, but they'll adapt. We have to be ready." He stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. The touch was fleeting, almost casual, yet it carried weight. She didn't pull away, letting the warmth linger a moment longer than necessary, acknowledging the tension without words. The Atlantic stretched endlessly, black and merciless. But above its surface, a new kind of sentinel watched, pulses of invisible light, flickering green on the radar screens. And in the lab, two hearts beat a little faster than the pulses, caught between duty, fear, and desire. The invisible war had begun. And for Eleanor and Simmons, it would be a battle not only of life and death, but of tension, attraction, and shared courage in the darkest hours of the Atlantic.